attention.
I'd like to call the Monday, March 11th board meeting to order. Roll call.
Mrs. Nazario.
Here.
Mr. Ferguson.
Here.
Dr. Ballard.
Here.
Mrs. Washington. Mr. Sturgill.
Here.
The Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Toni Morrison.
Great crowd. Mr. May, if you'd be so kind.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, tonight we have the privilege of having students from Toni Morrison Elementary School here. We'll
It
be
looks
reading
like
the pledge.
all of them, actually. It's
Great
awesome.
attendance at
Nice
Toni
job,
Morrison.
Bridget.
Yeah, and at our board meetings with them, yeah. So Dr. Kaiser, the principal, is here tonight to support her students. So I'll introduce the students, and Dr. Kaiser, you want to speak on their behalf as well? So we have Riley Noble. Riley, mind waving? And we'll call you up in a minute. So Riley is a first grade student and the daughter of Melvin and Sarah Noble. We have Braxton Willoughby. And Braxton is a fifth grade student and the son of, is it Kaylon and Kayla Willoughby? We have, Riley and Braxton, will speak on heart health as Toni Morrison Elementary participated in the Kids Heart Challenge. We also have Mackenzie Jones.
Oh, no.
She's waving back there.
She recovered.
Yeah, Mackenzie's here. She's a fifth grade student and the daughter of Brian and Sean Jones. And we have Bryson Howell. And Bryson is also a fifth grade student and the son of Kristen Howell. And Mackenzie and Bryson were the Toni Morrison Essay Contest winners.
Nice.
Yep, Mackenzie was first place and Bryson was second, and they'll be reading their essays for us. And then we have Chloe Patterson. Chloe, you know anybody here?
Just everybody.
And Chloe's also in fifth grade, and the daughter of Kevin and Eden Patterson. And Savannah Tidmore. And Savannah's a fourth grade student and the daughter of Lorenza and Melissa Tidmore. And we have Avery Ramos. Avery, I didn't get back to see you. Hi, Avery.
What's up, Avery?
Avery's a fourth grade student and the daughter of Anthony Ramos and Brittany Bartlebaugh. And Chloe, Savannah, and Avery will be speaking about Black History Month. So Dr. Kaiser, you want coming up? And then students, if you don't mind coming up. Dr. Kaiser, anything else that you'd like to say? And then students, come on up as you'll lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance here.
We're going to need a wider angle lens for that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Bridget Kaiser. I'm the principal at Toni Morrison. So as Mr. May said, we're going to start with the Kids Heart Challenge. It's something that we've been doing for 11 years. And over those 11 years, we've managed to raise over $20,000 for the American Heart Society. Braxton, he raised over $500 this year, and Riley, who set a goal at $200, raised over $1,000.
Wow, nice.
So we will start with them, and then we will go into our student council members who will be reading about Black History Month. And then we have our Toni Morrison Essay Contest winners. So we'll finish with them. So should we start with the pledge? Is that what you'd like us to do?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you like to start?
I participated in the Kids Heart Challenge every year because it is very important to keep your heart healthy. The funds also go to the American Heart Association to help with research in families affected by heart disease. The main reason I do the fundraiser every year is because of my grandma. She was born with hereditary heart condition. Luckily, no one else in our family has it, but she has a few procedures and recently open heart surgery to replace her valve and triple bypass surgery. Sadly, she will have to have another open heart surgery soon. Most times you are born with heart conditions, so it is important to exercise, diet, and stay healthy for your heart.
You're nervous. It's okay. Do you want to talk about these? What are those?
Are those the prizes that you earned? Yeah. How did you do that? You don't want to talk to the microphone? Do you just want to talk outside of them?
It's okay. Yeah.
You don't have to.
Okay, well,
Did
we
you win all those
You don't have
prizes
to do
though,
what
because you
we
raised a
see.
lot of money? Is that why you got all those prizes? Can you just hold them up and
What
show
you got?
everybody what you got? No? Okay.
Nice job. Thank you very much. Much
Thank you, Riley. All right, now we have our student council members. Let's start with Ms. Chloe Patterson.
Black History Month is a celebration of achievements of African Americans in the history of the United States. Bessie Coleman. Bessie Coleman was born in Atlanta, Texas on January 26, 1892, the 10th of 13 children. In Texas, she attended segregated schools. Then she enrolled in college in 1910, but she had to drop out because she did not have enough money to pay for school. She enrolled in a school of aviation in France. She earned her international pilot's license on June 15, 1921. Within a year afterwards, she studied the start of flying across Europe. Her famous quote was, "The air is only free place from prejudice." On June 15, 1921, Coleman became the first black woman to earn an aviation license and the first black person to earn an international aviation license.
Of course.
Do you want to go right now?
Hi, I'm Marilyn Noble. I'm 5 years old, the first grade at Tony Morrison. I decided to be part of the Kids Help Challenge because my gym teacher showed me some videos that kids who had heart problems. I wanted to help. I ended up, and I started asking everyone if they could donate money to help. I ended up raising over $1,000 to help. I also learned about the word fast. F is for face stripping, A is for armlessness, F is for silent speech, and G is time to call 911. I also learned about each art character had a message. Bust says to be a leader, Bolt says to move more, Skip says to say no to any vaping or smoking, Splash says to drink and eat healthy, and Spark says to think about STEM science, technology, engineering, and math, and Star says to get enough sleep.
Nice job.
Early years, born in February 1818 as a slave, sold to Maryland at 8 years old. Education. The master's wife taught him to read even though she wasn't supposed to. His famous quote, "It is easier to build strong children than repair broken men." Awards and achievement. Frederick Douglass was awarded an honorary degree of the University of Rochester in 2018. The degree was in law. Douglass has received lots of honors, including statues and stamps. Sojourner Truth. Early ages. Isabella Baumfried felt so strongly about speaking about what was right that she changed her name to Sojourner Truth.
She was born a slave in New York around 1797. Education. Sojourner could not read or write and did not attend school. This did not stop her from traveling and speaking to people. Her famous quote, "Truth is powerful and it Awards and accomplishments. Sojourner Truth received many awards. Paintings, sculptures, monuments, lectures, and plaques were dedicated to memory of legendary Sojourner Truth.
Then we have Bryson Howe. Come on. He won second place in the Toni Morrison essay contest.
Toni Morrison once said, "Make a difference about something other than yourselves." This means that making a difference can change the slightest things in the world. To make a big difference or to help make the world a better place can be a hard task, though not impossible. Doing the slightest things to help the world be a better place. I think it's important to change things and to help people in the world be better. You can help even just by picking up garbage or being friendly to a neighbor or helping a friend or by helping a friend. Toni Morrison was a great author and poet. She was very inspiring and won many awards. She was born in Lorain, Ohio, and was the first African American woman to win the Nobel Peace Prize. I want to make the world a better place where people are dependable, kind, and loyal. Making a difference about something other than yourself doesn't just mean to change the world. It can also mean to affect the lives of people or to change the way we live today. You, me, or anyone else can work to change the laws that we will have in the future. If you don't try, then you don't want to change the world enough. The quote above inspires me so much and also means a lot to me. I want to change the world because it is cruel and people need to stop being so hateful. This is an important topic. Other important topics are that pollution has been at its all-time high and inflation is also at its all-time high. Showing leadership and loyalty is important too. Responsibility is a big thing, even when doing something small. In conclusion, making the world a better place means not to be self-centered.
That was outstanding. Nice job.
And next we have Mackenzie Jones. She's the first place winner.
Toni Wofford Morrison once said, "If there is a book you want to read but it hasn't been written yet, you must write it yourself." I find this quote to be very uplifting, and I interpret this quote as a message saying not to wait around and waste your life waiting for an opportunity by someone else, but to give yourself the opportunity. Finding the strength to open pathways for opportunities takes a lot, but you can do things to give yourself the energy to do great things. In addition, another way you could view this quotation is by telling yourself, don't let others control how you write your story, and the way your chapters flow is in the thread of your hand. This is another way I can interpret this quote. The feeling of wanting something that is yet to be can be very challenging to ignore, but giving yourself the satisfaction of creating something grand is a wonderful thing, and this quote gives out that message. Wasting away in the grasp of despair, knowing that the fact that what you wish for and wait day by day for will never come, is something that you can escape. It may take your whole life to satisfy your needs, but in the end it will be worth it.
That was very, very beautifully written. Thank you. Now, and again, I think the best part of every board meeting, and candidly one of the best parts about my job, is to be able to sit up here and watch our students just do great things. And I appreciate the crowd that turned out. I appreciate the fact that you came up here and felt comfortable and rebounded well. It was awesome. Came back up here and know that it's a safe place to kind of share your brilliance. So thank you for all that you've done. But before you leave, we'd love to get a picture. So if you could all come up, students, bring whoever brought you here, come on up. Let's get a big old group shot.
I'd also like to thank all the teachers from Toni Morrison that turned out. Great job, faculty.
There's a bunch. Can't see that far out there. You can't. Yeah. Oh, awesome. Yeah, teachers too, please come on up. That's right. Mike's on duty. Nope. Parents, come on up. We decided it's glass and hat. That's what he's got. You're incognito. Yeah. So I stand in front. See where he's nice job. Up at the door. Nice job. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Ball in. And also, if you speak, there's a different difference. Yeah. Your seat itself is
35 years ago when I coached track. He was probably 19.
So I'm pulling a 9.04. We can either do it at the beginning or I can do it in my section, whatever you're comfortable with. Okay.
But then, are we doing it?
No, we don't have any, we have no information to share. We're still waiting for some stuff to come back on stadium stuff. And there was something else too, but yeah, there's nothing. Yeah, we're gathering some more information to share with you, but,
Where's Pat's thing gonna be at? Because he's not in here.
he'll be me. Yeah, unless you want him to be me. Yeah, I typically bring him for mine.
You're coming, basically.
And Pat, you're gonna be up in my section, so about 2 more minutes. Thanks. Nice job. Nice job.
In 3 more minutes, we expect to be home, so make it soon.
We cleared it out for you, Pat.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Okay, on to the agenda, recognition of visitors. Oh, I'm sorry.
Madam President, could we suspend the order for a minute? I think we have.
I have a recognition of a visitor.
Oh, yes, please.
Oh, there's a familiar face.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Yeah, they want no part of this. Yeah.
Happy birthday to you.
75?
Well, thank you very much. That's very kind. I'm guessing it's full of gluten?
I was going to say nothing.
How about that?
Did that say 75?
He's dyslexic. He's dyslexic.
I didn't know she was coming that way. I thought you were coming this way, and I kept watching.
I was too.
I didn't know.
Yeah, Michael was our focus here. Actually, it was all Michael's idea. He thought you would really enjoy this.
Oh, yeah. I love people's invitation.
Yeah, I thought you would. So we're just going to leave this. You guys
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. There's candles, there's magic.
My wife and children, for those of you who don't know. Thank you. That's right. Grab a handful.
My kids actually did it in the office at where they knew no one wanted.
Have fun, everybody. I can watch us. Happy birthday for you.
You wrote it?
I was like watching through the door. Like she's
I was doing this too.
Oh, goodness. Okay. All right. Now on to the agenda.
Recognition of visitors. No more visitors. First hearing of the public.
Uh-oh.
Thank you. We have a hearing of the public today.
I'll sign this one.
That's fine.
All right. Julie Garcia.
Pull up the microphone.
President of Lorain Education Association. I'm here just to give you some information about our scholarships that we are offering to Lorain High students. These flyers have been around the building, and there's a QR code spot for them to apply. One is for a Lorain High senior who's going into education. One is for just a Lorain High graduate. All students are eligible to apply for these, and they're due March 28th, 2024. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to myself or Mary Jo Ferguson, who is the person who's in charge. The third scholarship is for an LEA member's child, and our members have to have volunteered actively in our many, many activities that we've done. So please make sure you share these with our seniors. We'd like to have a lot of students apply. And this is a cash gift to the student scholarship because we don't want to mess up their scholarships from the colleges, so we give it to them so they can buy a computer or whatever things they need going off to college.
Very nice. Thank you.
And the second thing I'd like to say is what a way to follow up with these kids. You know, I live in the city, I work in the district, I work at the activities that the kids participate in, and oftentimes I get tired of hearing people say, well, Lorain kids, Lorain kids, Lorain kids. You know what? We have some really great kids, and that was just demonstrated here today. I go to the basketball games and the football games and the volleyball games, and I watch the kids cheer for each other, and they get up and they dance to the band, and the band is there playing. So I would love it for our people to stop saying, these are Lorain kids. These are Lorain kids, and our Lorain kids should stand up proud that you are a Lorain kid because you're awesome.
Thank you. I just want to echo that too, and it's one of those things where people say, yeah, those are the kids. To your point, these are a great example of the students we have in our district. They were great kids. But again, it's just a sample of the kids in our district. A lot of our kids, a vast majority of our kids fit that description. So thank you for jumping up and giving a shout out to our own.
Julie, can you get that, the scholarship information to Michael for TV 20?
And I also want to give a quick shout out too, because I thought you were going to mention it while you're up there about the gala that's coming up for our staff recognition. And just to dispel a couple of, it's on the 22nd, is that right? All right, 22nd. If you're a staff member, please come. It's a great event. To dispel a couple of myths, there is no secret fund. The district is not paying for any of this. This is all comes from our community to say thank you for serving the children and the families of this district. Is a way to celebrate the great adults that we have in our building as well as the teachers that Julie mentioned. The question came in about why we're having it, where we're having it. The community foundations who paid for this want it to be in Lorain, as it should be. So we chose the largest venue, and we're going to have a great party. Again, please come and socialize, kick your feet up, and relax with the folks that you spend your days working with. So I want to thank you for your leadership on putting that together.
Any old business? Reports and recommendation. Oh, I'm sorry. The board. Oh, we need to approve and sign the minutes from the February 26th meeting. The board waives the right to read the minutes.
So moved. Support.
Roll call.
Dr. Ballard.
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill.
Yes.
Mrs. Nazario.
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson.
Yes.
Reports and recommendation of the treasurer.
I have items 8.01 through 8.05 for approval.
So move.
Support.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Ferguson.
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill.
Yes.
Mrs. Nazario.
Yes.
Dr. Ballard.
Yes.
Reports and recommendation of the superintendent.
Yeah, I guess I'd like to invite Pat Coleman to the microphone, if we could, please. Pat is in charge of many things in our district, including the academic technology aspect of our world. And with artificial intelligence creeping into the workforce, into the workplace, into our schools, I wanted for him to give the folks at this table, as well as the folks in our community, an update on what our approach is going to be in terms of how to deal with this. And I equate it to an example that we've given many times as a district. Back when I was in school, is calculators. And the whole idea was, nope, you have to learn how to do math, so keep the calculators out of it. Instead, we're going to try to figure out how to use those calculators, or in this instance, AI, to make sure that we're maximizing our effectiveness as teachers and staff members, as well as the learning experience. So, Matt, if you could maybe kind of share where we are and where you are in terms of investigating this as a district.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate the time. Like pretty much everything we do in our district, when we have these types of things come about, we do our work together, and we do that by forming work groups. And so earlier in the fall, we began the process of building out a work group around generative AI in the classroom, and that involved recruiting and building a team. It's a team of staff members, team of school leaders, and team of district leaders right now working on this. And the goal here tonight is just give you a very brief update in terms of the work we've done, really the course we've plotted and why we've plotted that course. So without further ado, after building the team, one of the first steps we took was diving into kind of a partner around where we can anchor our work. And we are working through the University of Pennsylvania's Graduate School of Education. And our team, our cohort, is taking a graduate level class right now titled Classroom Implications of Generative AI. And it has been a great experience. Obviously, it's a highly ranked graduate school of education, and we have seen all that and more. I do want to take just a second, I just read through those names there. Dr. Sarah Kavanaugh, Tess Bernhardt, Dr. Ryan Baker, Dr. Bodong Chen, and Dr. Amy Stronello have led live synchronous sessions with our team here in Lorain. And they're, again, the work and kind of the research they've turned us onto and the directions they've allowed us to explore has been awesome. But without further ado, let's just kind of dive into where we're at. Some of our most recent work group conversations have centered around norming as a team around generative AI. And when we start thinking about that, there are, and again, I'm going to reference the term teachers, staff, students, research a lot. None of that is specific to Lorain. Everything I'm going to focus on this evening is rooted in research that's drawing from a national pool. So when we think generally about teachers, about educators, and possible generative AI norms in classrooms, we can kind of categorize ourselves into three different places. One, on the left, you can see there folks who might just say, based on the age group I teach, based on the content area I teach, generative AI is just not appropriate right now for my kids in my educational context. In the middle, you have a group of educators who might say, I think it's important to start thinking in terms of access to a tool like this for our kids, and maybe conservatively giving them small doses and allowing them the opportunity here and there with lessons to use generative AI to enhance what's happening in the classroom for the kiddos. And then on the far right, you'd have folks who might be taking a more broader approach and really diving into the deep end and saying, this is an amazing tool, this has amazing potential for our kids, let's move forward with it, and I'll work with you on when it's not appropriate or when it's not ethical to use. But of note, if there's going to be any AI use in terms of those buckets in our teachers, we are going to be focusing on appropriate citing and attributing the work that AI might be doing. Is that better? So citing and attribution being a big piece. Here's the thing, no matter which of those buckets any of us or educators might kind of fall into philosophically, they're all going to require some discussion with our kids, right? They're all going to require a development of shared understanding with our students and a system of some sort of ongoing accountability to ensure that our students are sticking to whatever policies we develop at the classroom level faithfully as the school year goes on. Should I just talk really loud? Or? Keep your voices there if needed. We'll swap that out. Thank you. Testing? Okay. But regardless of what bucket you're in, it's going to be incumbent on our educators to talk to our kids about this stuff. And, as one example, if you're a teacher who just feels like it's not appropriate to use in the classroom at this time, maybe you're going to ban it. Even if you decide to fully ban it, we can't make AI disappear from the wider world. It is here. It's ubiquitous. So even if you're that kind of yellow bucket, it's still going to be super important for us as leaders of our classrooms to engage with our kids and talk with our kids about why it's not appropriate to use given this educational context, given my course, given whatever the contextual dynamics are. Far right, if we're going to use it a lot, it's important to lead conversations around when it might be then unethical to use, and again, how to cite and appropriately attribute. So talking to our kids about this is going to be a key piece. So as we begin to think and move forward about this being in our classrooms and forecasting what that might look like, there'll be some behavioral management aspects of it as well. And so we tend to think in terms of two sides of the coin when it comes to that, especially when it comes to technology. So, thinking in terms of watching our kids, observing, maybe some surveillance, and again, and kind of working to ensure that our kids are upholding those generative AI norms. And if they're not, being on top of it. Certainly good kids are capable of bad decisions from time to time. And as educators, we don't want to tempt good kids with bad decisions. That's not who we are. And so if we have a complete and total absence of any kind of preventative structures, we can do just that. But some cautions around leaning too heavily on that. First of all, when you start looking at the different AI detection tools out there, they are actually wildly inaccurate and unhelpful. They tend to actually flag often as false positives. So what you see often with these errors with the AI detection devices is kids who aren't generating text via a bot, but it's flagging them as if they are. We've been to conferences and presentations where folks have dropped Bible verses into AI detectors and it flagging as being bot generated. That's obviously a concern. Huge swaths of the U.S. Constitution have flagged in many of these detectors as being bot generated. So again, our ability to depend solely on that is slim to none. But just in terms of general behavioral dynamics in managing a classroom, there's another side of the coin that we know might be weighted a little more heavily, and that is pulling students into the conversation around how generative AI should and should not be used. And this means not just telling them or lecturing them. This means actually opening a broad path for discussion with our kids around helping them arrive at these norms and arrive at these stances with us. We want our teachers to be able to lead conversations with their students with respect to the development of generative AI norms in their classrooms. And again, like I mentioned, the key here is that these two buckets, kind of the top one, the reactive one, the bottom one there, the proactive one, you can see they're not going to be weighted evenly. We need to make sure that we have a foundation of trust and shared understanding with our kiddos so that inevitably when we surveil and watch and enforce and we observe a kiddo crossing a threshold we don't think they should be crossing, we can lean on that relationship that we have and that trust to serve as a foundation for making it a teachable moment and a conversation where we can support the students in making different decisions in the future. Many of us know as educators, if we rely too much on the reactive side and not having enough trust and support built into the system, you begin to erode trust with kids. You begin to kind of sap some of the morale that they bring into the classroom. And so to this end, this is where I want to pull in some research and some data that the UPenn team has turned us on to. They've turned us on to lots of stuff, but this is stuff that our work group has really zeroed in on as being really aligned with who we are and helping us plot our course. So there was a report that came out a few months ago by the Center of Democracy and Teaching that found that many students are currently experiencing surveillance and consequences without having proper support or even full clarity around what their school's policies are or what their respective classroom guidelines are. We're also seeing this disproportionately affect historically marginalized students who are being disciplined more frequently for use of generative AI. And all of this is interestingly rooted in a pretty strong gap between how adults perceive kids might be using generative AI and how our students are actually self-reporting that they're using generative AI. So same study released a report. They surveyed 1,000 teachers and 1,000 students. Again, these are not Lorain teachers. These are not Lorain students, just kind of across the country. And you'll see here that 1,000 teachers surveyed, 90% think that their students are using generative AI in some capacity. Of that 90%, 4 in 10 think that their students are using AI to submit school assignments. 62% of the teachers are reporting that they are now more distrustful of their students' work due to generative AI, and 50% of the 50% of the teachers are citing that they are simply less excited to dive into their students' writing with the underlying concept that it might be bot generated. So it paints a very deficit-based picture. But with all that said, there's some pretty stark contrast here with how the students are self-reporting. So if I lay that over, same thing, 1,000 students surveyed, around 600 of these students, or 60% of the sample, are reporting that they used generative AI. But of that 600, only 19% are reporting that they used generative AI for schoolwork or assignments. Did I lose power?
I think you did.
Okay. Here's your voice activated.
Means you're done.
Yeah,
Like the Oscars, you just
Get the hook.
I know that's gonna work. It's time to go out after 8.5 minutes. Perfect. Sorry. So only 19% of those 600 students are reporting using generative AI for writing assignments or classroom-based work. So that's about 114 kids out of 1,000. And this means that roughly 500 of the students are using generative AI for things that are basically what we consider non-academic. Testing, okay. And so what our teenagers seem to be using it for, again, teenagers, not teachers, what our teenagers seem to be using it for are very teen things. So things like relationship questions, dealing with issues with friends, family issues, college and career planning, trivia was one that was cited, and concerningly, dealing with anxiety and or mental health issues. So when you look at these charts side by side, you can see how kind of our adult, like classroom and curriculum-centric concerns are actually pretty disconnected from how students are currently playing around with this new, very, very powerful tool. Just some more data real quick. This is specific to ChatGPT. This is from the Pew Research Center. While 1 in 5 U.S. teens has heard of had heard of ChatGPT, this is back from 2023. I think more than 1 in 5 have heard of it at this point. But when the study took place, while 1 in 5 U.S. teens had heard of ChatGPT, had used it for schoolwork, most of them did not support using generative AI for the work itself. So 57% of the students in this study said it's not okay to use generative AI for writing essays or passing off essays. One other final bit of research, and this was an important piece that our work group really centered on. Stanford's Graduate School of Education did some research that supported generative AI does not seem to be tempting kids to all of a sudden begin cheating. The rate at which kids self-report cheating has been flatlined for about 20 years. It hasn't gone up. And so what it's not doing is convincing kids who wouldn't ordinarily cheat, now I'm going to start doing it because ChatGPT or some other generative AI is here. We thought that was really important. We had some great conversation around that really highlights an important perspective for us as teachers and classroom leaders, and that is there's so much value to be potentially taken from using these tools, and there are other ways to think about generative AI as opposed to it simply being this uncontrollable thing that our kids cannot resist the temptation to use and begin using it to undermine everything that we're trying to do in the classroom. So again, our goal is to create classrooms where students are open and honest with us with respect to their use of ChatGPT and generative AI. That is not going to be fostered when we come from things from this stance of heavy-handedness and top-down generation of norms. And kind of how we will or will not use generative AI. Again, it's imperative for us to talk with our kids and partner with our kids. And so what does all this mean in terms of where we're at as a work group and where we want to go, where we think it's important to go? So we're kind of in the foothills now of designing some professional learning for our staff. And as we begin thinking about designing that professional learning, these are really our guiding principles that our work group has collectively calibrated on. So first bullet up there, hopefully this lowers the anxiety of folks. We are not here to force everyone to start using generative AI, next month, live intro lesson with kids. So again, we hope that lowers the anxiety a little bit. We certainly are here to help folks understand how it works and to help demystify it. A kind of tagline we've talked about as a work group is it's not magic, it's just math. Although it can seem a little bit magical, it's just math. We are absolutely here to help folks process what those lesson-based, classroom-based implications could look like. We are absolutely here to help folks begin to understand how generative AI can help them in their daily work. Dr. Graham and I were at a presentation a couple months back where a guy used a great line. It's a nice way to offload busy work. We all have, based on our roles, there's lots of busy work we all have. So there are definite ways where it can help us get a little leaner and meaner and find some efficiencies in our work. We definitely want to position our folks to benefit from that. But we think that last bullet's probably the most important. We are here to provide guidance on how folks can begin to lead AI norming conversations with their kiddos. We think that's going to be fundamental to continuing the work we're doing as a district in terms of building trust with our kids and taking an asset-based approach to what our kids bring into the classrooms. So with that said, there was a question posed on an earlier slide, is generative AI sowing distrust between our adults and our kids? Again, some of the research makes it look like maybe that's starting to happen. We don't believe that. We believe that teachers who aren't versed in engaging with kids around generative AI down the road have the potential to sow distrust, and that's why we think that's so important. But that's where our work will start, and I will go ahead and pause right now, see if there's any questions, see if I can address any comments, concerns, anything along those lines. Thank you.
Are we going to get to a point where the district takes a position on AI, similar to the calculator?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what this work group will do. Again, these are the kind of guiding principles that'll get us there, but yeah, there are lots of questions to answer. At some point, we'll need to codify board policy. At some point, we'll need language in handbooks. In some point, we'll need language on syllabuses. And again, the key is we want to make sure we're kind of plotting the right course and taking the right asset-based approach in developing that language, but absolutely, Jay.
Yeah, right now the goal is that we talked about to kind of share our philosophy on the approach that we're taking. And it's in essence to maximize the effectiveness of teaching and learning and using generative AI in the most appropriate way. It's not going away. But from that philosophy, again, this group will work with our admin team, teacher leaders, to work with the board on ways or what we would recommend as appropriate board policy to make sure that we're following within that pathway. There's so many amazing opportunities that come with this. But to Pat's point, we need to work with our staff to understand it as thoroughly as they can, to engage our students. But as a teacher, I was thinking back when I taught, and the internet wasn't an option back then. So for me, it was whatever ideas I could generate in my own head and whatever I could find in the library. But now there's just using ChatGPT or the other generative AI bots to be a thought partner on ways that I could teach more effectively, more appropriately, and to reach more students in a variety of ways. So it's the benefits are amazing. We just have to make sure that we understand what we're doing and why we're doing it.
Yeah, it's going to push us a little bit. It's going to park a lot of dilemmas onto our front porch, so to speak, as teachers and as educators. We talked about this a little bit earlier today. We talked about this a lot in our work group. We don't want to delegate thinking. We don't want to delegate. There's lots of cognition we know our kids need to go through to develop the skills to be successful in this world. And we want to, as we take a look at all the different ways this could be embedded into different lessons, it creates this question of, is this a good thing to do with my kids, or could it actually be bypassing desirable thinking? So all of those micro level lesson-based decisions need to be something that our teachers feel comfortable and confident making those contextual decisions. Those are the pieces that we don't believe should be, at the board policy level, district mandate, top-down level. We need to get our teachers to a point where they feel very, very comfortable understanding the implications on both sides of that. With all these dilemmas, they're complex issues. They're not simple. So it's really important that as adults, we learn to take a look at both sides of those issues as they come about.
Thanks, Pat. Appreciate it. Yeah, while Pat's pulling up a chair, we had a meeting this morning, and Drew played a recording of me spouting off a bunch of nonsense. The difference between that recording and the nonsense I typically spew is I said none of it. But it came from a recording that he made 4 years ago. He put it into an AI bot. It sounded exactly like me. Stutter, slur, the uhs, everything was the cadence, the pace. It was me. So again, it's a way, and we'll give updates along the way for our staff, our community, our students, and ways to protect ourselves from people we think are somebody they're not. So there's a lot that we need to learn, and again, our goal is to make sure that, the purpose of giving the presentation today from Pat, who is very knowledgeable about this, again, is not just to educate the folks at this table, but I know we're on YouTube, to educate our families, our students, and our community on the approach we're taking to deal with the newness, the struggles, and the amazing benefits of generative AI. Okay, on to the rest of mine. I would like to temporarily pull 9.04, which is an MOU with our association, and we found an area in which it can be improved, so we want to make sure we have give folks a chance to look at that before we bring it back, but we do plan to bring it back. So I would like the board to consider for approval items 9.01 to 9.03.
So moved. Support.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Dr. Ballard.
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill.
Yes.
Mrs. Nazario.
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson.
Yes.
I'd like the board to consider for approval items 10.01 to 10.12, operations matters.
So moved. Support.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Sturgill.
Yes.
Dr. Ballard.
Yes.
Mrs. Nazario.
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson.
Yes.
And thank you, that's what I have this evening.
Thank you. Do we have any new business to share? Any committee reports? Second hearing of the public? Our next board meeting will be March 25th at 5 o'clock here in the board meeting room. And I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support.
Roll call?
Dr. Ballard.
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson.
Yes.
Mrs. Nazario.
Yes.
Mr. Sturgill.
Yes.
And for anyone watching this meeting live on, that's being streamed, if you'd like some gluten-free birthday cake, please come on down. Love to see you.
Let's go get your paper plate and start chewing on it.